Looks like Sony still never learns. And will they ever learn to listen to people when they say live service will not work, only good games? I don't know.
Alright me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also, I've started uploading some content onto Rumble as well, so make sure you look for Dr. Disaster over there, and don't forget to follow me on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster1. I keep a list on there of games lousy with wokeness pinned to the account at all times for your reference, but alright. Let's talk about the fact that Fairgame is still being developed. The reason that this rumor took off in the first place is because it is so utterly believable. I don't think there is a single person out there aware of this game who looks at Fairgame and thinks, wow, here's a game that's going to sell millions and millions of copies. Everyone looks at it and realizes that this is a piece of media that is being made outside of its time. If this had released maybe 5 or 6 years ago, this might have had a chance. Woke was still in its prime back then, and was not on the downward trajectory that it is today. People hadn't risen up against it like they have now, and the live service craze had not run its course yet like it has today. These days, I think my instinctive response when I hear that something is going to be live service is to wince.
Regardless whether it's live service or single player, there's always gonna be a way for them to succeed. Listen, how do you think Marvel Rivals succeed? Or in this case, how do you think Black Myth Wukong succeed? Marvel Rivals is a live service, a free-to-play. Black Myth Wukong, single player. Let's take out the live service and the premium price, all that out of the way. What do these two games have in common? Marvel Rivals and also Black Myth Wukong. A good game. It's just that simple. Sony doesn't even give a damn about it because they know better than the consumer, because they're gonna push this live service slop. Unless, of course, if there is companies such as Square Enix still doing single player. Same goes for Capcom. I mean, what else? No, Ubisoft, they're probably done. Single player is still a thing, and there are some who are still doing it. Live service can do good, regardless whether it's free to play or not. You're gonna have to convince them to buy yours. Why can't many of these people learn from Marvel Rivals' success? Instead, they want to go to the Concord route. How many money did that lose?
There have simply been too many live service games out there that were made into live service clearly for no damn good reason other than to cash in on the craze, and we are beyond sick of it as gamers. So, Fairgame has that double whammy going against it. It's live service slop, and it's so woke that its entire premise is progressive politics, where one of its slogans appears to be, "Eat the rich." If you aren't familiar with the premise, apparently the game, Fairgame, has you playing as a group of robbers who are competing to steal from rich people, and, to be clear, that is the essence of wokeness right there. Jealousy and resentment are at the heart of woke philosophy. So yes, this game is, in many ways, peak woke. So, it's with all of this in mind that it is understandable that a lot of people believed this rumor that Fairgame was being canceled, and the fact that so many people bought into this ought to be a sign that Sony should cancel this game. Fortunately, I did not make a video about it or a social media post about this rumor without doing a bunch of research. I started digging into the rumor, looking for signs that this cancellation was indeed correct, articles or posts on LinkedIn or just anything that would suggest that this rumor was true, and then we got the retraction, as you can see from this article here.
Not being cancelled. Nice job. This is a brand new IP. I mean, remember Concord? How do you think that ended up? Seriously, Sony, what are you doing? Live service? Seriously, you know that single player is a thing. Why can't you learn from Black Myth Wukong's success? Or in this case, Marvel Rivals' success? How do you think these two games got a lot of players? How did they succeed? You're learning the wrong way, Sony.
Is from Insider Gaming. It says here, recently, a shock tidbit of news sprang up when it was claimed that Fairgame, an upcoming third-person PlayStation shooter from Haven Studios, had been cancelled. This news came courtesy of Michael Pachter, a prolific industry analyst who was speaking during his Pachter Factor podcast. However, Pachter has now come out to retract his statement and issue an apology for the confusion. As far as we know, Fairgame hasn't been cancelled. From what we know, Fairgame is still coming out despite the recent departures of the studio's founder, Jade Raymond. This is what led Michael Pachter to make the claim about Fairgame, jumping to a conclusion that the game must be cancelled as the studio's founder has departed the business. As Pachter's statement spread like wildfire on social media, the analyst was contacted by another YouTuber for clarification, and this is his quote. Pachter said, "I misspoke, said Jade was let go, and assumed it was cancelled. I have no info on the game at all. Feel free to quote this. I truly don't know." And alright, fair enough. Sometimes people misspeak or jump to conclusions or whatever happened, but the fact that articles like this one immediately sprouted up ought to be a clue to Sony that nobody expects this game to do well. This is the wisdom of the crowd in action. We all know that this is a game that is destined to flop, so a lot of people ate up this rumor right away. And when you pair this with the fact that, as they said in the article there, that Jade Raymond has left Haven Studios, which she founded, well, it doesn't look good. If you didn't know, Jade Raymond is the feminist who leveraged her work as producer and executive producer on the early Assassin's Creed games, making people think that she was this massive creative force to be reckoned with. She started this studio, whose first project was this Fairgame turd, which was picked up by Sony, and after the first external test a few months back, she left the company, and it isn't hard to imagine that she was pushed out by Sony because it tested so poorly. Fairgame, which was first announced back in 2022, was reportedly delayed until next year. But yeah, when you combine all of the gamer sentiment around this project, if Sony had even the slightest bit of common sense, they would cancel this shit right away.
Yeah, I don't think Sony's gonna cancel, but then again, they're not gonna listen to gamers. Final Fantasy, well, they're still being made because Square Enix is its own thing. Sony, what are you doing? Black Myth Wukong, how many players did it get? 2 million. What else? Marvel Rivals, 10 million players in 72 hours on all platforms. Seriously, these people, I have to assume one thing. Whoever at Sony, in their heads, they still think that single player is a thing of the past. Live service is the new norm. When will Sony learn, or in this case, face the harsh reality that live service is not going to last long, and regardless whether you put it free to play or premium price, it's not going to work. What gamers need is a good game. That's all we ask. Sony's not going to listen, and the moment the single player is doing much better, gaining them more money, instead of learning from that success, they just ignore it and use those income to do more live service slop. I'm 100% certain every time there's a success on the single player, they will take that money, create more live service slop. But that's just my theory, folks. I'd like to hear what yours. You can have a good live service or a single player, okay? Doesn't matter. But you have to understand one thing. If the trend has already took off, let's say you want to make a live service that is similar to Fortnite, you have to give Fortnite players a reason to play your game. You can't just post it and not expect no players, or in this case expect little to no players. You have to convince these players your game is much better than Fortnite. That goes same for single player too, okay? Marvel Rivals, look, the people at Marvel Rivals knew Overwatch 2 is still there and people are not gonna leave Overwatch for Marvel Rivals. So what they do, they thought, what if these Overwatch players are indeed comic book fans? Think about it, folks. Most Marvel Rivals skins, they said that it is to follow the source material, okay? The comics. They respect the source material. And Marvel Rivals did not just gain Overwatch 2 players, but they also gained comic book fans, aka Marvel comic book fans. They have a Fantastic Four DLC, or in this case Fantastic Four characters, because the new Fantastic Four First Step is now being released, which it's already been a month away. I think it's been a month. The real thing is, good games. It's all gamers ask. That's it. Therefore, AA, indie, and also games made in the East are thriving, because to the AAA, they can either choose to continue to do what they do, as in slop after slop, forcing people to just ditch them, or adapt and improve, which we all know they won't do that.
That was my introduction to Tom and Joe. I learned later that they were brothers, though really, they were both like brothers to me. It turned out that Joe had married Tom's sister, and that he'd followed Tom into volunteering. Tom was worried sick about the kid, and would be as long as we flew together. He didn't want to have to go back home to that little town in Wisconsin and tell his sister that he'd had to watch her husband go down in flames. He was like that with all of us, really, the protector of our little family. I always knew that he'd have my back no matter what kind of hell we flew into. And it didn't take him long to throw us into the fire. I knew we'd be tested after Kinloss. I just didn't know how soon.
Leave a like and subscribe if you want woke or anti-woke detected, or you just want to see me play games, or perhaps you like trending topics. Visit my second, third, and fourth channel up here or link in the description.